Hello, good afternoon. It's Corky Alexander here on a probably intermediate uh, lesson on acoustic licks, particularly focused on uh, fantasy rock, okay, or progressive rock, um, which would include bands like Yes and Kansas and Emerson Lake Palmer, bands like this from the 60s, 70s, things like that. But I want to talk about especially lead guitar on acoustic. Now, when we're doing electric guitar lead, we're doing a lot of what I call closed positions. Um, in rock music, you tend to grab the guitar neck, okay? A lot of guys will sound off that bass of a G bar chord with their thumb. My thumb won't reach all the way around like Chet Atkins did. But tends to be a grabbing of the neck in pop and rock. Um, in classical, you want to rock your hand out and you're using the tips of your fingers and you're doing a lot of this. You're getting up above. You watch Al Di Meola, flamenco, and all that. When he's on acoustic, he's doing a lot of fingertips. And there's times, even in pop and rock, where you're going to use your fingertips. But we tend to lay our fingers on the strings rather than getting up like that. But it's a good exercise for us that if we find we have dead notes in a chord, like this, sometimes you'll have a dead note. And the good way to get away from that is to rock that hand, get up on those tips where you can make room for those other strings to sound out and not, there comes a time when damping and muting is intentional. When you're doing chops and things like that, see, I'm laying my fingers on those strings rather than pressing them. There I press, let up. In the 60s, Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter, and things like that. There's a lot of muting going on there. When we're playing lead on acoustic guitar, which some of my very first playing on guitar lead was acoustic, because my friend Alan and we were a duo, and he would play acoustic, I would play acoustic. And so I was always looking for ways to give variety or, air in the music. So a lot of times, whereas on electric, you might go, okay, you might do a double stop like that. On acoustic, you tend to let some strings sound out, and you have these open strings sounding out. You don't do that so much on electric. And so in doing scales, even blues scales on acoustic, the singer-songwriter period, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, he's sounding out an E string, he's got open D, open A, and just that double stop there. There's a seventh. But that's very typical of acoustic guitar lead playing, is to have these droning strings going, you know. And so chords, even for a lead guitar player on acoustic, even when you're sounding out chords, you're going to make some different forms of chords than you might on electric, okay? Like, for example, often in a B flat, I'll sound that one. Gives it kind of a mysterious, you know, Sounds of Silence, Simon and Garfunkel, this right here. You got on the G string, third string, you got your third finger. You're barring the next two on the 5th fret. Now that was, you know, that was in the soundtrack of the 60s, you know. And in doing that, it's different than electric. You got all these open strings sounding out, okay? But I might, in a D minor chord, sometimes I would just play 3rd finger, 7th fret on the G, then the 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the B, and everything else open. That was very much a sound, a signature sound of a progressive rock or fantasy rock, you know. Kind of folky too, you know. And so in doing lead, you know, you might be like, you know, there I'm in the key of E. A lot of chords like that, leaving a lot of open droning strings. But one we'll focus on for the rest of the video is a couple of intros or licks. The first one is going to be from Yes, Roundabout. And in doing this, you're using a harmonic, all right? Which means you're barely touching the string on the fret of this direction, and then you lay your finger gently on all the rest of the strings. Don't always hit it just right. That's the first part of Roundabout. On the 12th fret. So that's a E minor chord, probably E minor 7th. And then you go down here and you go, it's on the 7th fret on the high E. Then you do this thing with the 5th and 7th. That's a pull off. And a hammer on and a pull off. Seems so minute, but this is so important for skills on playing lead on acoustic. Learning to do hammer-ons and pull-offs. Then we go to the B string on the 8th fret. Then the 7th fret. Then the high E on the 5th. Then back to the harmonic. Good. Okay. What that is, that's a B note on the G string. It's on the 4th fret. 5th fret. Then a C major 7th chord, one of my most favorite chords in the world. Okay. Harmonic. It's probably not absolutely exactly the way that Steve Howe plays in Yes, but I'm close. And then I think one time he does these all on hammer-ons. Kind of depends on the guitar that you've got, whether those hammer-ons would be as clear. That's roundabout. At least that's the very beginning of it. Now, we're going to do From the Beginning by Emerson, Lake Palmer. And it begins with a bend. I'm on the low E string on the 2nd fret. I'm bending it and hitting the A string open. I used to do it like this on the 3rd fret, but then I watched Greg Lake do it recently on a video concert, and he actually did it on the 2nd fret. That's a really cool lick there. Doing a growl, you know, on acoustic, whereas on electric, you know, we do growls. Alan Holdsworth was the king of growls, Phil Kagi. And so this is what I call a growl. And he did this. Okay, so you got that little growl, and then you go up here. This is a form of A minor. I'm pressing the D string down on the 10th fret, the G and the B on the 12th fret, leaving my E open. It's a really, really groovy chord. Then same form down to the 5th and 7th. Also a groovy chord. These I call drum chords. They're forms of A minor, probably, and D, but I don't know what you'd call them, but I figure them out myself. Now I'm doing a damping thing, so I'm laying my hand real fast on there, and I'm not just sounding out like this. With all its sustain, I'm actually muting or damping it. So that's the very beginning of From the Beginning, Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake Palmer. And again, that chord is that right there. With the high E open, the A is open, the E is open. I'm muting. Gotta do that jink. Sounds really good. Okay, there you go. There's a couple of intros or licks from the progressive rock days, and some talk about acoustic lead. Have a good one.